Today's episode of Beyond the Mask is presented by the insurance specialists at Bright Think Wealth Strategies. Find the disability insurance coverage that fits you best right now. Email Robert Smith at rsmithjr@financialguide.com. The show is also made possible by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. Get a free consultation today to be guided through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Just visit crnafinancialplanning.com. We'd also like to thank Helping Hands and OSA EMR for their support of the show. And don't forget, listening to our podcast can earn you Class B credits. For more information on how you can submit them, check out the CE Credit tab on our website, beyondthemaskpodcast.com. Welcome to Beyond the Mask, Innovation and Opportunities for CRNAs, with Jeremy Stanley and Sharon Pierce. We know you spend your day caring for your patient's best interests. On our show, we want to care for you. Join us as we leave the operating room and learn the latest in the CRNA industry. Beyond the Mask starts in 10, 9, 8, 7.
Welcome to Beyond the Mask. I'm Jeremy Stanley, and I've been working with CRNAs for over 23 years, and I'm married to one. And my co-host is
Sharon Pierce.
Sharon's a practicing CRNA for over 20 years, a past president of the AANA, the NCANA, and she's held many other leadership roles. As usual, our goal with every episode is to educate and enlighten CRNAs, and I think our topic today is definitely going to do that. And Sharon, what time is it?
It's time to wake up, Jeremy.
I think it is. Sharon, welcome to the show. Welcome to DC.
It is so good to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And 2 years.
Wow. Our first meeting in 2 years.
Yeah.
But
the first AANA meeting. We've had state meetings.
Right. But it's great to be at mid-year.
Oh, this is my favorite meeting.
And to get to record together in the same room.
I know.
You know, it's great.
It is great.
And what are we talking about tonight?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, remember our series that we kind of got started and didn't really push it on down the line about powerful women?
Oh, I remember it. Yes. I remember
let me tell everybody a story about that.
Great.
We brought the wine into the studio, and it was, 3 powerful women and Jeremy. The next day I called him and I said, "So how are you doing today?" He said, "Fine." He said, "But I dreamed I had a third nipple after all that estrogen last night." So I texted.
You had to get that on, didn't you? You just had to put that out
and
there.
I texted him around noon. I said, "So how's that third nipple doing?" He says, "I'm lactating."
I had to think of something to come back.
So we have 2 powerful women in the room with us today who happen to be good friends of mine. And so we still have the wine at the table because we're taping fairly late. And we are calling this Empowered Women Empower Women. Thanks, Jackie Rolls.
Hey, that's my favorite T-shirt I've ever bought at Target. Both my daughters have it, and I wish I could have bought about 30 of them for people, but unfortunately,
well, if Target's
listening,
maybe
out.
You'll get them.
Target needs to make more. Can't even get them online.
That's it. And so, and we have Jackie, as you just heard, and we have my good friend, also Tracy Castleman.
Hi there.
Hi there.
From New York, but
lives in
New
Jersey.
Jersey.
Yes, we got schooled on that a few minutes ago, didn't we? What are we talking about today, Sharon? Come on.
Well, we are talking about women empowering other
I know
women.
that, but what,
yes.
what are we going to talk about? What does that mean? For a guy sitting here, what does that mean?
Tracy, I'm going to turf this to you because this was your brilliant idea.
I'm not so sure it was brilliant.
It was brilliant, actually.
I think empowered women, empowering women means that you don't get there alone. And I believe, myself as a woman, I do it better when I have other women alongside of me who are just as strong, who I respect and appreciate the input that they have in whatever I am trying to do, whatever project I'm trying to lead, whatever effort I'm trying to spearhead. I don't have all the strengths. I might have a good idea, Sharon might have a new way to approach that idea, or Jackie might have background information that I didn't even consider. So I think it's respecting the other women around you and allowing them to rise, whether it's above you, alongside of you, or to hold you up.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is you all have different strengths, and I know each one of you, and you are different in different ways. I mean, so in the fact that you're friends just kind of aids in that, right?
Well,
yeah,
it's one of the best gifts I ever got from the AANA were these two ladies. And of course, we're missing our good friend Carol Doisher, who lives in Minnesota. Unfortunately, her mother's not doing very well, so send up some prayers for Carol and her mother. But it's the best thing that I ever got from this association, honestly. So, Jackie, what would you have to say about this topic?
I think it's also helping women find their voice. And as you are a leader and people want to learn from you or ask you your leadership philosophy, I was just in the LEAP meeting, the one in Cleveland that started at Case Western, to help nurse anesthetists who were a diverse background who did not matriculate or be accepted into a nurse anesthesia program. So they had a reception tonight, met the 9 nurses that are now going into a nurse anesthesia program. And interestingly, 3 of them came and said, we want to pick your brain about leadership. And we had a talk about it, and it was just off the cuff. But for me, it's lifting other women up. It's being humble. It's being a servant to others. We want them to succeed. And there's a lot of really good women in the world who are put down by their significant others, by their family, who are told they can't succeed. You're not as smart. You're not as pretty. We have to reach out and help those women rise too. And when you are empowered, none of us, as I think Tracy said too, we don't get here by ourselves. We have mentors. We need to mentor others, and we need to support each other. And you may not always agree with someone, and you don't have to be best friends with people to actually reach out and help someone to gain their potential and gain their spot in the world and their self-confidence. And I think we have way too many women that don't share that view, and they're too competitive with others and too critical. And I never want to be that woman. And for my daughters, I don't want anyone treating them like that or them treating anyone else like that.
Well, you're one of the most competitive people I know, but you're competitive with Jackie Rawls.
Oh, I don't know. Kevin might disagree. My husband might disagree. But yeah, I guess I am competitive, but I also think that you can be competitive in a good sport.
Sure.
And you can help someone else along the way, too.
Don't play air hockey with her, folks.
Oh, no. Put me on a volleyball court or a tennis court, I'm going to kill you.
But that's where competition is good. That's where it should be.
Takes over.
But, all CRNAs are laid back, type B personalities,
Right.
We're
so easy.
You guys are just
with.
easy, right?
I think it's
ezy like a Sunday morning, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly how I'm described by most people.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. Tracy, that's not a good thing to say right now.
But I think it's having the grace to allow the space for somebody else, for their idea to rise and maybe add some wind to their sails.
Right.
I think that's a big part, is allowing space. You don't always have to being empowered does not always mean being the loudest person in the room, being the most visible person in the room. Often it is making that space or pushing somebody else up and allowing them to shine. I think that is more empowering.
I'm gonna throw this out there. How do you deal with someone in a situation who doesn't appreciate your differentness when you bring it to the table and they don't pick up on it, or they don't appreciate it, or they think you're not bringing anything to the table because you're not like them?
You can try. You can offer. If they don't appreciate it, or, some people just sometimes can't receive, whether there's something going on in their life, whether they're just not there mentally. Mm-hmm. I'm comfortable walking away if I have to. I'm not sure for me at this point in my life. When I was younger, perhaps I would yell a little louder. I'd stamp my feet a little bit. That's just, an expression. At this point, if you don't want to receive it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that good, or maybe it wasn't appropriate for the time. That's me. Jackie probably would challenge them to a game of air hockey.
Yeah. It's a hard one, right? It comes down to a little bit of respect, too. Yep. And I've had a conversation with certain people, one-on-one, of course. You don't want to embarrass someone. And said to them, the difference between you and me, it's the fact that I recognize you have a right to your opinion. And you have a right to your view. And I might not share that same one, but the difference between you and I is you don't recognize my right to that.
I like
And
that.
I find I've had a couple people step back and look at me and just not even know what to say and then apologize. And I'm not trying to make them feel bad, but what I'm trying to do is open their eyes. All of us don't know how we're seen sometimes. And some of the best gifts we can get by the people that mentored us are the hard lessons. Like, you can't mentor someone and just be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
You have to be able to help them grow. And if someone comes and asks me to help them and mentor them, I sit down and say, look, we're going to have regular meetings. You're going to hear some hard things from me because this is what we have to do to help you succeed. And I'll take those back from you too in kind.
Right.
I'm not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes. And I may be perceived a way that I didn't mean it, especially when we're doing texts or we're doing emails and we don't see people's body language. So we have to all work on that together. But I think we all need to step back and have a little grace. And the world needs a lot more grace, actually.
Well, the one thing that girlfriends are good at is having these tough conversations in a space that's safe.
Yes.
You know, I've called all three of you guys together separately. I mean, how many Zoom calls have we had over the last 2 years? During the onset of COVID, which to me was simply challenging on so many levels. We were having Zoom calls 2 and 3 times a week in the beginning, and each of us have had challenges in our lives. And what do? We jump on a call together so that we can be supportive of each other, and professionally, personally, and I think that's important because I know that you might tell me some hard stuff, but it's okay because I know you still love me whenever it's all over with.
And I think that's the important thing. You don't call all of your friends.
Right.
You call a select few who you truly trust, who you know will not just be a cheerleader, who will say the good and the bad,
Right.
but give it with love. And it's not always easy to receive it when you hear it. When Jackie says, go back and rewrite that letter, Tracy, you did it wrong.
I did not say it
She
like
did
that.
not. I'm only kidding. I'm just picking on her. But to be able to go back and say, you have to be willing to receive, and it's easy to receive when you know you have your few people who you trust, who have your back, have your front, and it's reassuring. Always makes me feel more powerful when I have either one of these ladies near me or I have their thoughts to add to mine.
I think you do. You do empower someone when you're honest, and you do it with love.
Have you thought about what would happen if you weren't able to work for 2 or 3 years? On average, 25% of people will file a disability claim, and most of us aren't prepared for that loss of income. Every CRNA needs to protect their biggest asset, yourself, and your ability to earn with a disability insurance policy. We recommend contacting Robert Smith, a master disability insurance specialist with more than 30 years of experience and 1,800 CRNA clients, to find the coverage that fits you best. The best way to do that is to send him an email at rsmithjr@financialguide.com. That's rsmithjr@financialguide.com, or call him at 504-394-6557.
Well, Sharon, you mentioned AANA brought you together. You want to talk about that a little bit? Because I know so many CRNAs I hear from that, that's one of the reasons they continue to be involved.
Oh, you know what? That's
AANA.
a great point, Jeremy.
Well, it's one I push all the time. It's I call this when we get together. It's like it's a girlfriend weekend or a girlfriend reunion or a college reunion. A couple of times a year.
Yeah.
Well, 4 times a year. I know whenever I was coming into being president, I remember getting the text from Tracy, and she said, "Girlfriend, I will be there every single meeting with you." Well, go back to when Jackie was president. Tracy and I were the bartenders in the president's suite.
We were short on labor that night.
And we were free.
The budget was tight that year for the AANA.
They did a really good job. Child, you might get hired again.
Yeah, you get a shout out,
Absolutely.
You can do this. Pierce can DJ. You can bartend. This would be great.
Yeah, that's it. But to your point, we have tried to figure out how we all wound up together. But I've always been a proponent of, and let me back up. My friend Joanne Stevens, who taught me everything I know about politics, she always said that socially, groups will push the most powerful people together. It's almost like an evolutionary thing, survival of the fittest, that kind of thing. And if you watch, a room will push those people together. I watch it all the time. And we have I remember where I met Jackie. I remember where I met Carol. And I remember where I met Tracy. But I don't remember where we all came together. Do you guys?
I was trying to think about that actually, because you and I met on a bus from the airport. Well, it wasn't really a bus. It was the Marriott shuttle.
Yeah.
From the airport here in D.C. to this meeting. And I met Carol at the meeting. And Tracy, one of the first things I remember about you was working the foundation golf tournament.
Is that where I met you? Because
And
you're the only
where-
one I can't remember where I met.
I think that's where we
You were
met.
drunk, Tracy.
She was
I
at
think
the
I
golf
was
tournament.
Actually,
That's
I
why-
think I might have been still
I
drunk
think
from the
she
night
was
before.
driving the beer cart.
Oh, there you
Me
go.
and Lorraine.
Yeah.
You were driving the beer car?
Yeah, Lorraine and I, sure.
Oh, that job.
I don't remember who was the common.
Denominator.
Right. It might have been you, Sharon, because you already knew Tracy. You were friends.
But I've known Carol since my very first meeting as a
Okay.
CRNA, when I was put on, not from COA when I was a student, but when I was on the PR committee many years ago.
Moons.
Yeah, last century.
I just
was on the PR
remember-
committee, and I met Carol. Carol,
Carol,
Keith
okay.
McSoud, and I were on a committee, and we were at Champions. Remember when that was at the
Oh, gosh.
bottom of
I remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
in the
place.
Marriott?
Oh, yes.
That
and
was
that's
fun.
Carol and I sat across from each other, and Keith sat here, and the rest of the table was here. I couldn't tell you, and Susie Dufek. I couldn't tell you just about anybody else, but Carol and I became fast friends that day. I met you on a bus.
I do
Jeez,
not.
There's a lot of bus meeting going on here. I'm just
Sharon,
saying.
It's
Coming
on a
home
bus.
from a bar, I think, or from the cruise. And Jackie,
It was
I
the
know I
pack
met
cruise.
you on the golf course. That's appropriate.
As you were serving beer. You know.
Because the PR committee, we worked the foundation golf course. So
Yeah.
that would make sense.
Yeah,
I was
that's
either
right.
taking pictures on one of the holes or I was driving around with Lorraine in the golf cart.
You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, iron sharpens iron.
Ooh, I love that.
And, you know,
Jackie,
this,
that's a
that's
new
what this
t-shirt.
reminds me
It
of.
is. We can make
Yeah.
our own.
Yeah.
I like it.
But, you know, do you think, I mean, Tracy, I'll throw it to you. I mean, with students, I mean, are we developing them to have these types of relationships?
Well, I think that's part of the PR committee's mentoring program is
Okay.
to
Which
start.
you started.
Well, along with a lot of other people, started.
Tracy, it
I
was your
kept it
brainchild.
going. It wasn't not just my brainchild. I kept it going. I was the one who kept the ball moving. I was on the ground floor, but I'm the one who took it and ran with it. But I was not the only one. Lots of people involved. Anyway, it's part of what I would say, especially in the early years, was get to know these people.
Right.
This is your future. You're going to grow together. And this is why a lot of us come back. We enjoy each other's company. That was a lot of what we encouraged the CRNAs to do also was to bring your students with others to
Right.
sit down so they appreciate. It's something I promote with the students that I teach as a clinical coordinator with the Rutgers program.
Right, right.
Is, these are your people. Stay in touch.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think the other thing that, you know, as I look at the association, you know, there's a lot of people involved at this level, but there's not a lot of people as the whole. So what I notice with all of you guys, or yous guys, am I saying that right?
I do not say that.
Yous guys?
I do not say that. Use guys.
Use guys.
But I don't say that.
You don't say that. Okay. All right. You guys is, you know, most of the people that are really involved, they're very open to help everyone else. Mm-hmm. But a lot of CRNAs as a whole in the community aren't. And I can say that as a non-CRNA. But you know, the leaders seem to kind of reach outward and say, let me help you and bring you up. And the students need to pick up on that. And I think other people pick up on that along the way. Sharon, what do you think about that?
Come on down. The water is fine.
I think it's hard for students. The programs have gotten harder, the content over the year, and over the years, I guess. And I know, so at Texas Christian, we have 68 to 70, 74 students in a cohort. That's a lot.
I think
Yep.
that's what's
And-
changed it. It's not so much that the content is harder, because I thought it was pretty hard, and it's still the
I
basics.
don't know. You should
I think
see
the
some of the classes.
the DMP part. I think
We won't talk about how long ago
Listen,
since you graduated.
Denny Sheridan and Kathy O'Donnell were my program director, so I had tough ladies. But
yes,
but I think the additional DMP part, that makes it harder. But I think what you're saying, though, I was in a class of 9.
I was in a class of 10.
I still keep in touch with half of my classmates.
17.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. You
it is.
become a
It's
number
hard,
as
right.
opposed to a cohort.
But what we tried to tell, what we tell them at orientation and try to do throughout is that competition's over. You got here.
You're there. Yeah.
You're here. Now you need each other to make it through this
I love that.
3
Yeah, I
years.
do like that.
You need study partners. You need
That's
people to
great.
talk to and vent to and cry to. And, you need to come together and help everybody succeed through this program in ways that as a faculty or a mentor even, you can't, because they don't open up everything to you.
Was it all ships rise together? What am I getting
Rising
that wrong?
tide lifts all
Rising tide.
boats.
There you go. See, something like that.
All ships rise together. That's good enough.
In New York, you just rise. We don't care. No, but I think I like that. I like that whole idea of you're no longer in competition. You're
It's
here
over.
together.
You made it.
Oh, I like that
Yeah.
a lot. But
Yeah.
my class was not competitive amongst each other. Now I've heard stories about classes who were competitive amongst each other, but my classmates were not. I mean, I still stay in touch with my classmates. I mean, Jerry Hogan from Florida, geez, that man should have been my brother. He is by another mother.
Yeah.
I think it's also a different time, and people study differently. Let's be honest. When we were in school, you didn't go on the internet because there wasn't an internet. You didn't go.
Oh, I just found my book
You
the
didn't-
other day that your little binder you kept.
I had a Mass General and my Baby Bearish.
Yeah,
I
me
kept
too.
in my bag that I carry. I was just talking about that with one of my students. I said, I didn't open up my phone and look up information.
No.
It was.
Yeah.
So I think the way they gather information and they learn is different than we did. We did depend on each other for study groups, let's say, or it was different. You hauled your books, you sat down, dropped them, and you all worked together.
I think that's society as a whole now. I mean, you can turn to your phone and you can find everything you want there, and you can communicate on that device. I mean, you remember being 16, you wanted to get your driver's license and drive your car and go cruise or whatever you did. And, nowadays kids don't care about any of that
It's so much
because they
easier
have the
to
world
hide
in their
stuff then,
hand.
too.
It really was. Yeah. We'd have been a whole lot more trouble.
Our grandparents had to have said this same thing, which is alarming because now we're talking like that.
I still think a lot of it comes down to mentoring and having someone
agree.
that's almost your sponsor. I know
Yeah.
I lectured in Indiana and had worked on a competency assessment because really the physicians at the hospital were so not nice. So had to really prove competency. And I was asked to give it at our state meeting, and this was back in 96, I think. And Sandy Tunacek was the director of practice for the AANA, and she happened to be at the Indiana state meeting. And afterwards, she came up and she said, I want to introduce you to some people. And I came to mid-year. I was the only one from Indiana that year, and that's when I met Sharon, and Carol didn't meet Tracy yet. But Sandy took me literally by the hand and took me through these hallways of CRNAs and introduced me to the board and leaders and said, you're going to be really involved in the AANA someday, and I want you to meet all of these people. And it's almost a little embarrassing, I think, for all of us, because you are being kind of paraded around by someone in a way, and you think, well, I'm not worthy of all of these people, and it's my first national AANA meeting. But those people remember you, and you remember them, and then you see them the next time, and there's a conversation or a little more of a conversation, and then all of a sudden, Jan Stewart called me and said, I'm going to put you on a committee. So all of us got onto national committees and have
that's
served.
funny. Jan put me on my first committee, too.
People will ask
I
me
was
that
an old
once in a
dog
while.
by then.
Oh,
But we do. We have to take the people that we see different skills in or ability, and sometimes we need to coach them up, and sometimes we just need to get them in front of the right people so the opportunities come.
I was just going to say we have to be the connectors, like I just did with you and Gloria.
Yes.
Yeah. Gloria Chan, who was a student in our mentoring program 10 years ago. She reminded me it was 10 years ago. If you're listening, Gloria, you are a star. She really is. She
that's
comes
the
with
one you were talking about.
with an impeccable background, with an unbelievable experience list before she even came in to be a CRNA. And she was already involved in the UN, so as a nurse.
Amazing.
Wow.
And she reached out to me because she's in a position with Sigma Theta Tau about third world countries, development of anesthesia programs. Did I know anything about this? And she goes, and I came to you because you've always been this important mentor to me. And I can't believe that I'm in this position. What am I doing in this position? And I'm like, you are the rock star that most people would like to be, Gloria. I don't understand how you don't see yourself that way. But I said to her, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. I have somebody for you to talk to. And I put her in
We
Jackie.
have a Zoom call next week.
Yeah. And to me, they're both leaders, but it's empowering another woman who is really trying to do amazing things on a global level.
And being the connector.
Right. And stepping back.
Key.
It's not my space. It's their space. Let them do it.
Absolutely.
Beyond the Mask is made possible by the team at CRNA Financial Planning. With almost 2 decades of experience, the firm guides CRNAs through the complexities of investing and financial planning. Schedule a free consultation today by calling 855-304-3748 or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com.
Speaking of involvement, I probably would not have gone to some of the international meetings, but we had to go because our girlfriend is president of the International Federation of Nurse Anesthetists. So Jackie increases the enrollment.
And Jackie, the meeting's still on.
The meeting's still on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
May 2nd through 5th.
Everybody on Facebook's talking about this,
They
right?
were.
Is the meeting on?
The meeting's on.
Okay.
Shebna,
Meeting's on.
come
Croatia
on.
is waiting for you.
We are waiting.
Oh, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. It is going to be great. But that's another thing, too. I think to empower women, you stand up for each other and you're there for each other in good and bad times. And especially when you have big things going on in your life, whether it's weddings.
Yes.
We
We had a blast at your daughter's wedding.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
we did.
as
And
we
your
did at
daughter.
yours.
And,
With my special box of tissues.
But there's times just we all go through hard times.
Yeah.
And to have somebody you can talk to, and when you're up running for office and you look out in the audience, you try not to focus on a face, but you always seem to find someone. So it should need to be one of your friends smiling at you.
Well, I'm thinking of several CRNAs who had rough times in the last couple of years that I know. And it's amazing to see how everyone has sort of congregated around to uplift and help in that time. We could all think of those situations.
Well, and even Pierce knows what to do. I had a health issue a number of years ago that I wanted to ignore. And what does he do? He gets the 3 of them on the phone and basically has an intervention. So he just went totally around me.
Well, Pierce knows you're not going to listen to him anyway, Sharon. That's
Well, but it scared her to think that she might have the 3 of us on her doorstep dragging her rear end to the hospital.
Oh my goodness, isn't that the truth? And you're right. Even during tough times, whenever Carol was having some tough times and going through a divorce, we got on a plane and took off.
Sharon, what advice would you give to the average CRNA out there about what we're talking about?
Well, find what's a good word for that?
Some people say tribe. But
Yes, that's it.
Find your
posse.
people.
Yeah, your people.
Find your people.
Yep.
Yeah. You find your people. And, they'll be friends for life.
Yeah. That's it. That's all you got?
You
got anything else for me?
Jesus, that's how I
Come on.
kind of found you. And now look what's happened. 1 million downloads later, and
That's
you're
right.
still
That's
here.
right.
I
I'm
haven't
still
run
around.
you off yet.
I'm going to say choose wisely.
That's good.
Be
Good.
vulnerable. Allow yourself to be everything you are. Bring your whole self, your authentic self, to a relationship, and you'll see who loves you for who you are, and who you love for who they are. But I think being your authentic self is the first part, because you can't enter into what we're talking about in a relationship and hide something, because then you're not really in it.
Right. Be honest and trustworthy. And we've all had people in our life who showed one side and ended up, in the long run, you really knew who they were. And, it's how you deal with that. And some people can deal with it better than others, and some of us wouldn't deal with it better than others. But everybody goes through those times. Everybody has those issues in their life. And you're right, you need that support network there, which obviously you guys are that for each other. even though you're vastly different from one
Oh,
another.
boy.
Well, I mean, you know,
But that's what
but
makes
it
it work.
works.
That's
It makes
It
it
is
work.
what makes
That's
it work.
right.
That's it.
And we appreciate the differences.
Well, you know what it's making me think? If everybody is the same,
It's no fun.
it's boring.
yeah, it's no fun. It's boring. And I mean, even in any relationship, I think it's that way. Sometimes
Who
you like
would
that.
win at air hockey if we were all the same?
You guys need to practice.
You'd be very competitive at it.
Well,
I'll tell you that.
We are anyway.
You know, I just hate Carol's not here
I
because
know.
let me
Yeah.
tell you something. Whenever my dad was sick and after he had surgery and his eggs were scrambled up, the phone would ring and it would be my sister, and he'd talk. He'd get off the phone and he'd go, "Who was I talking to?" He didn't even know my sister. Carol would call him every day, and he called her Gazelle. Gazelle, it's so nice to talk to you. Called him every day. He didn't know my sister on the phone, but he knew Carol.
She would, I'm certain, have 3 words.
Oh,
could
yeah,
sum this up in
everything's in
3 words.
threes. Everything. There are 3 points I
Yes.
want to add to this, and I love that. I could never do it because by the time I got to 3, I'd forget it.
Well, she's very eloquent in her words.
Yes, she is.
Would
Yes.
you not give anything? And she's the only one of us who did not kiss the Blarney Stone. Remember,
Well, she
wasn't
doesn't need
trying-
it.
No, she doesn't. Listen, I was like laid over that thing.
I cheeked it. No, but Carol really is. She's brilliant. She is.
yeah.
You
Oh,
talk
my
about
God.
authentic.
You're not
What
kidding.
you see is what you get. She is one of the
Yeah.
greatest human beings I have ever met. We should all be a little bit
Yeah.
more like Carol.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We love you, Carol Doisher.
Yes, we do. All of us love Carol Doisher. Who doesn't love her? So, I guess to conclude on this, Jackie, would you like to leave some final words?
Oh, wow. For me, it's kind of most of what I've already said. I think this topic of empowering women, we need to stand together and we need to help each other and we need to help people reach their goals and lift them up and be positive and also be there when they're down and help them find a way out. But be positive is my biggest thing. You don't know even what your words can do to hurt someone, and you got to think a little bit carefully about what you say. But I do feel like it's our duty to reach down and help others climb after we've been given that opportunity.
You're not kidding.
Yep.
All right, Tracy.
Jumping off of that a little bit, I was thinking with my students, one of the things I've always said, and I think it's what we should do for each other, is they rotate through my clinical site, and I'm the site coordinator, and I always say, our job is to hold the bar very high for you. You need to jump to get there. And if you can't, it's also my job to help you reach it. And it's my failure if we couldn't get you there. And so I do feel like what you said, it's our job to give a leg up when needed, to have grace in a relationship, to be honest, to bring yourself again. I go back to that, just being authentic and finding joy in the people who are around you. There's always a reason to find joy because everybody's worth it. Even if they're not great that moment, they're still worth it.
Well, I think each of us have seen each other when we were not that great.
Not our best.
But nobody was mean about it. But the one thing that I like about all of us, and I've talked about this before, and Jeremy's heard me talk about this, because we're all equally strong. But it's just like the birds who fly in a V. One of us will be up front until we get tired and then rotates to the back, and another one would come up front, and we appreciate the person who is breaking the wind for us. Maybe that
I
was
like
the
that
best
you want to say
way.
breaking wind, and you don't want to be behind the person that's doing that, Sharon.
There'll be none of that tonight.
Yeah, you guys are all rooming together.
No, not me.
Watch out for
I've got
Sharon
my own
tonight.
room.
No.
Break wind by herself.
It's those two together.
Jackie usually rooms with Carol.
Right. Carol's
Their
not here.
sleep cycles are more.
Oh, definitely. They sleep in. We're up.
Yeah.
We've covered our 10,000 steps, and they're
And we're just
having
getting
coffee.
up when we're on a cruise. They're up out walking. We're like, what's the matter with you? We're not out.
Which we have so missed. We used to go somewhere together every January, and we've had to cancel the last 2 Januaries. And I planned the last one, so it's
Someone
up to
else's turn.
And Jackie planned one. Tracy, I think
I just
you're
had you
up.
at my house. Doesn't that count?
October.
That's all, yeah, all 4
It was
of us
October.
were.
That doesn't count.
Oh,
October in New Jersey? I mean,
it was lovely. It was early.
was
It was like
beautiful.
it was like 80 degrees that day. It was
Wow.
It was
beautiful.
Oh, okay.
beautiful.
Wow.
You should try it sometime.
Huh.
Come to Jersey.
Come to Jersey.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's better than you
Come
think.
to the shore.
That'll
Come to
be
the
it.
shore.
So, Jeremy, why don't you give us some concluding thoughts as you are an outsider looking in and bring us to
again,
a close?
I've watched you, Sharon, for years, and how you, I mean, there's a lot been said here, but yes, I've always thought of you as a connector. I mean, you've always done that for me along the way as well, for sure. Without you, I probably wouldn't know half of the people I know, to be honest, because it kind of started from you. And I've always appreciated that about you, is you're always looking to bring people along. And you don't have a hidden agenda about that. It's just very open, and I think that's great. And I hear that from all of you. I've gotten to know you, and you're all the same. I mean, you're the same in that way, but you're different in the way you go about doing it. And I think that what really makes you great friends. And you do help each other. I mean, I know times in your life that, especially over the last year or so, Sharon, that you've really needed these ladies.
You're not kidding.
And I know they've all been there for you. So, it's just good to kind of bring that back to the forefront for our listeners as well. If you don't have that type of relationship with someone, find it. What did you say? Find your...
Joy.
No, but you said find your...
Find your tribe.
Find your tribe.
That's it.
Find your
Yeah,
tribe.
Maybe that's our next T-shirt.
Find your tribe.
your tribe.
And help sharpen each other. And to your point, Tracy, be honest, be trustworthy, and be vulnerable, because that's what makes the relationship work. And, I think people can't hear that enough these days, especially with everything going on in this world. So we need each other. We all need each other. So
I need these 2 ladies, that's for sure.
yeah. So this is good. Well, Sharon, I'm going to say it's a wrap.
I think so.
Well, if you like our show and want to help us grow, Sharon, how can they help us grow?
Well, the best way to help us grow is to leave us a review, but make it
Positive. There's enough negativity in this world.
absolutely. Share it on social media. Tell all your friends, because we're in the top 50 medical podcasts in the country, and we want to be number
1, of course.
Absolutely.
Till next time.
It's a wrap.
As a CRNA, you spend years preparing yourself for this career, so we don't want to see you lose out on any of the income you've worked so hard to earn. The best way to protect yourself and give you the confidence that a major life event won't disrupt your financial future is through disability insurance. We've known disability income specialist Robert Smith for many years and have seen the work he's done with nearly 2,000 CRNAs over multiple decades. He can help identify any gaps in your existing coverage and fill those gaps by finding the best value on a policy. Contact Robert and let him know you heard about him on our podcast. Send him an email at rsmithjr@financialguide.com. That's rsmithjr@financialguide.com. Or call him at 504-394-6557. Protect your greatest asset as a CRNA, yourself and your ability to earn a living, by adding disability insurance to your financial plan. Today's show is brought to you by the folks at CRNA Financial Planning, an independent consulting firm that offers financial planning services exclusively to CRNAs and their families. From planning for a child's future college expenses to building a predictable income stream in retirement, the firm is committed to offering you comprehensive financial services, customized to fit your unique needs and objectives. If you have questions about your financial future, get them answered. Call the team at 855-304-3748. That's 855-304-3748. Or go online to crnafinancialplanning.com.
Hi, this is Jackie Rolls, President of the International Federation of Nurse Anesthetists and President and founder of Our Hearts, Your Hands, a global anesthesia support community that takes donations to allow nurse anesthetists in low and middle income countries to go to educational programs, buy equipment, or textbooks. Your donations are tax deductible, and we would appreciate your support.
OSA EMR is a free anesthesia EMR developed by CRNAs that you can download and use on an iPad. Our nonprofit mission is to make sure that solo and small practice CRNAs can digitally record their anesthetics. To learn more, visit osaemr.com to download and consider donating to our cause. Remember, for CRNAs, data is destiny.
Be sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and anywhere you like to listen to shows. Also be sure to check out BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. Each episode is posted there with a corresponding blog post, and we timestamp important parts of the episode to help you quickly get to the content you're looking for. Also check out the special series section on the site. You can follow along and catch up on the CRNA History Series, episodes specifically about political conversations in the industry, or try the CRNA Personal Finance Series. It's all on BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And if you have a question for the show or want to be a guest, or even suggest a particular topic, fill out the contact form on the site or send an email directly to us at info@BeyondTheMaskPodcast.com. And lastly, let's take the conversation social. Check out our Beyond the Mask podcast Facebook page and Facebook group.